Hi, it's Stephanie. Welcome back to Story Concierge. I'm sorry that I missed last week. I had some internet problems, so I couldn't actually upload, and the content that I put out isn't really relevant anymore. Today is going to be a vlog style instead of my usual how-to. It's more of a vlog about my process with NaNoWriMo. First, I'm going to ask you to hit that subscribe button and ring the bell so you get notified every week when I post a new video. NaNoWriMo, for those of you who don't know, is National Novel Writing Month, and it's every November. I have been doing it since 2006, with the exception of 2011, when I was working on a TV show and I simply didn't have time, and I'd also just moved back to Los Angeles. So there really wasn't enough time. I couldn't focus at all, but I do it every year. I love it. I use it for first drafts. So my process is a little bit different than other writers. What I do is I start with two things. One, an idea, and two, either a notepad or my computer. Lately, I've been using my computer a little bit more for NaNoWriMo because my hand tends to cramp a bit if I'm handwriting stuff out. But really, I'm not one of those writers who likes to block everything out, because I find that when I do that, it becomes very frustrating, because when I'm actually writing, the characters want to go a different way. Then I have a hard time switching gears because I'm like, no, it's supposed to be this way because I planned it all out. Basically, here's what I do. Every morning, I get up, and before I do anything else, well, obviously, except for like brush my teeth, go to the bathroom and grab some coffee. And sometimes I walk my dog before NaNoWriMo, and sometimes I walk him after. It really depends on how early I get up. But I get up, I go to the computer, and I read only the last line of what I wrote the day before. This is really important. Only the last line, because if I read a page or two or a chapter or two of something I did the day before, I'm going to want to change it because the ideas are going to change, or I'm going to see things that I might have not done in the best way. So I really don't ever do that. I just read the last line just so I can sort of refresh where I was. Even though this is so fast and doing it every single day, it's kind of hard to get lost, but still. So I read the last line and then I just write. Now, I always have an idea where the story is going. Sometimes in the past, I've written books where I just have an idea for a story, and honestly, a lot of those books, you know, I finished them, I hit the word count, but it didn't really make any sense. It wasn't a satisfying ending. So it's really better if I have an idea for a book and it's like, this is what happens. You know, Jack and Jill meet, and at the end of the book, they're going to get married. So then I have an idea of where I'm going to go, and I plot towards it. But for the most part, when I do NaNoWriMo, it is free writing. So usually I will aim to do about 3,000 words a day. Sometimes I'll hit 5 and sometimes I only hit 2. But what I never ever do is I personally never edit what I'm writing, ever. Under any circumstances. The only exception, because there's always an exception to everything, would be if I change a character's name. For whatever reason, I've decided that he or she should have a different name, so I might go through and use the search thing and replace the names, but even that, I usually will just make a note somewhere. I use Scrivener, not for drafting, but I use it for organization, and sometimes I'll make notes in there that I might change this character or that character's name. But yeah, so basically, I sit down and I aim to write 3,000 to 5,000 words, and I just free write. For me, it works. Now, I'm not saying that you have to do it that way. I'm just telling you my process. I've had 12 successful NaNoWriMos. I know I'm going to finish this one. I think I'm at 43,000 words at the time I'm making this video. I always have this aim for me to finish by Thanksgiving. I'm not sure why. It's just something that I always do. It's a little bit crazy. It's like making it shorter than we actually have. We have 30 days to do this, but I always try to finish it early. This month, Thanksgiving is on the 28th, so that doesn't really matter. I'm still aiming for 70,000 words because this book is not going to be a complete story at 50,000. There's no way I can wrap this up in 7,000 words. Plus, for this particular novel, I am writing adult fiction, which means mainstream fiction, women's fiction, chick lit, romantic comedy is what I'm doing this time. And those books usually start at 70,000 words, unlike, I'd said this in a past video too, unlike middle grade and young adult novels, which can be a bit shorter. After I finish, I finish and I write the words "the end." When I'm completely done with NaNoWriMo, no matter if it's November 23rd, November 28th, whatever day it falls on, I literally just put it away and I don't look at it again for another week. And then in December is when I start revisions. And I will come back the first week of December. There's going to be one more video next week, the day before Thanksgiving. And then in December, I'm going to talk about the revision process and how I do it and a lot of tools that I use for revision. And I'm also going to link to a lot of amazing, amazing revision instructors who I know, Kidlit world, throughout all of writing. Revision is really, really important. When I first started writing, I used to believe that I could revise a book in a month or two. If you're at that place, it's okay, but just know that you can't realistically revise a book up to publishing standards in a month or two. It really takes more time. What I like to do is take my story and I divide it all into chapters, and then I will write, usually in Scrivener or on actual note cards, I will write out what happens in each chapter, just a couple sentences that explains it, and then I put that together. I worked in storyboarding and animation for a long time, and there's like these huge boards, and you put, if you know anything about storyboarding, you put each storyboard panel up so you can look at it visually and see how the story's flowing. I like to do that with words too, and I will like put all of that up so I can see if the story is flowing and if it works, if I'm repeating stuff too much. And that's just how I start my revisions. I also use this thing that Martha Adelson talks about in The Plot Whisperer, which I talked about in my video on craft books. So I'm just going to recap the way that I do NaNoWriMo, and I hope that maybe it's inspirational, because a lot of people email me or they message me on social media and they're like, how are you possibly getting everything done? So for me, what works is doing it first thing in the morning, sitting for about 2 hours, sometimes 3, and just writing. Not editing, just writing. Let the characters sort of take me into the story. My day-to-day nano process, like, it's hard to make a video about it. I've had requests like, can you make a video about what you do every day for NaNoWriMo? I mean, it's really just get up, get a cup of coffee, and sit down and write. And I know that a lot of people, you know, are making money on like writing books on what they do during NaNoWriMo or other videos and stuff. But for me, I just write. I don't worry about everything. I tend to write free, and that might not work for you, and that's okay. There are tons and tons and tons of different ways to approach a novel. Everybody is different. I've written many novels. I like doing it even if they don't get published. It's just the way that I work. So I hope this was helpful. I will do a short video next week for Thanksgiving, and I hope you all had a successful month. And if you did or if you didn't, please drop into the comments and let's talk about it. I'm really excited to see what you guys created. See you next week. Have a great weekend and happy writing. You can do it.